welcome to the strategy of purpose, an interesting subject, and we've had some fun putting that together. So what does that entail? Well, let's just look at that. We're on a journey. Last week we did an introduction to strategy. We'll do a review quickly now, and today we're looking at purpose. Next week is people and products, and then process and profits to end off the month. And it's a pure coincidence that they all begin with P. And so that's as we under. They all sort of started with an S for strategy, but maybe next time. So last week we looked at what is a strategy, and a strategy is getting from here to there. And the assumptions was that you know where here is, and you've planned or at least mapped out where there is. So the strategy is the unpacking of the here and there, or here and then the strategy is being able to get there, and often reverse engineering that, and you'll see some of that come out today, is key. So if you know where you're going, it's easy to take the first step. If you're clueless on where you're going, then it's very important to know before you go. You don't want to take the first step in the wrong direction, because you often have to retrace or restart where that is. So last week we also unpacked this model where we said a strategy is a combination of a vision which has got focus areas, and the focus areas, we ask you to list 5 focus areas, and within each focus area list 5 goals, and within those goals then list the actions that are required to get you towards that goal, which would achieve then with a vision for each focus area, which would then achieve your higher vision, and therefore getting you to where you need to be, because your vision actually maps where there is, and unpacking that. And we also had a short chat about WIGs, your wildly important goals. And what is so wildly about important goals is, well, they should be, and they should be focused on. So we've got a couple of wildly important goals within our business that we're focusing on at the moment, and it's good to do just 1 or 2 or 3 things each day to act on that wildly important goal. And what we're doing is we're moving office this month, so it's kind of our wildly important goal, and we've taken an entire whiteboard and we've put up a list of all the actions that are required on that. And even though we haven't not done everything else that we normally do in the month, but moving office is our wildly important goal, because it's kind of important that we get out of here before the end of the month, otherwise we're going to be called squatters. So we've got to move in where there's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be done, and if we're not focusing on that, and if we're not communicating that with the entire team on a daily basis, then it falls flat, and we then fail to get to where we need to be. Okay, so that's kind of the theory behind a strategy. Now, when people come and chat to us, we often in this conversation about why you're starting a business. What is the purpose of a business? And having unpacked that a number of times with key clients, and looking at that and asking that in general conversation, just seeing the different answers, and a lot of people are clueless because they've really stopped to ask that question. It's the same asking that question like, why do you exist? And if you haven't thought about that one personally, well, take a moment and kind of ask that. Why do you think you exist? And is there a purpose behind your life? Is there a purpose of general mankind? Is there a purpose for planet Earth? And zooming down is that, what role are you playing in that purpose? And for your company, what purpose does your company play to fit into the greater purpose of things? Yeah, huge question. So let's break them down. We've got a number of mini purpose sentences that you're going to write, and what we get people to kind of unpack. And it's not an easy exercise. It's not something you're going to just do while you're watching this in half an hour. So I'm going to rebroadcast this video. It's on Facebook. We rebroadcast it on the website, and we'll list these questions for you to ask and answer. And we'd love you to share your answers, love you to share some of your ideas, and if you can add anything more to it, then that's perfect, because once your brain gets into that mode, then there's, but what about this and this and this and this, and we're looking for that collective wisdom from everybody who watches this over the next couple of weeks. So the first purpose statement is pretty much the answer to this, is what are the reasons for starting your business? And it might be a really simple question, but the complexity comes into the answer. It's kind of saying, well, I'm starting a business to earn money. It's one of those things that you don't necessarily think about. But is it? So what are the reasons for you starting a business? And it could be interesting. We've had a whole bunch. We've had people from various different sectors. And it's not always about money. It's money almost is the byproduct of doing business well and understanding that. So it's unpacking that. What are the reasons for you to start your business? And we've had people who've been retrenched and they've sort of walked into the office here. They're now kind of in the process of becoming unemployed, and they have to start a business for survival. People have been fired, and now they're going to have to, because by the end of the month I've got to, pay bills and the bond and the rent and everything else around that. So it almost, another reason is it could become an essential survival tool to run your own business. But it also could be to, create a legacy. It could be say, well, I want to start a family business and I want to have it, Bruce and Sons, and we're going to create a family legacy. And Cape Town has some amazing family legacy companies in the wine farm industry. And we were speaking to a group of people there, 7 generations they've done. And it's amazing that they're able to instill that family values in that. And that's the reason why they started the farm in the first place, to create a legacy for generations to come. For 300 years, this farm has been in the same family. And it's really interesting that it could be for, greater good. It could be to list it on the stock exchange. It could just be a short. I've retired and I want to start a business. There's a number of different reasons. You could go the franchise route. You could go list on the stock exchange. You could do a quick flip. And there's a number of things. But writing that down means that you're defining the there. Where are you going there? Because the step that you take today will get you on that journey to where you need to be. And a lot of people live this accidental life. So they're waiting for other things to happen to them. And in that response, then I'll react, and I'm living a reactive accidental life. So it depends on what the economy is doing. It depends on what happens in government. It depends what other people say. It depends if I'm doing then I'll do that. And we're just living that reactive thing. A true entrepreneur is a proactive thing. Things happen because they take actions. They don't take actions because things happen. So you've got to learn to flip that around. And the way to flip that around is having a purpose statement written out and stapled onto a wall somewhere that you can read it on a regular basis. So that's statement 1. What are the reasons for you to start your business? And take a moment to think about that, because it could change the way you act and interact with people today. So number 2 is, where is your business destined to go? And this kind of goes more, it adds on to where you're going there. Where's your business 10 years from now? Where's your business 15 years from now? Where's your business 100 years from now? And define that. I was reading an article a number of years ago about Sony, and they sit and they do these strategic plans. And in the article that they were saying is that at head office, at the high level board of Sony, they plan for 250 years. That's their strategy. That's their starting point. And, great to work for a company that's got a strategy for 250 years. There are very few companies that could even see until Christmas. So it's quite interesting to work for a company that has such forward-focused thing. It might not be a very clear strategy because nobody can determine where the world and the universe and how it's going to look in 250 years, but still to be focused on being around for 250 years is very encouraging, and it adds a couple of interest points to the pension plan, I suppose. But it's saying, what is the longest you've ever looked for? Where's the future plan for your business? Have you looked into the future? Have you discussed with people? Do you have a legacy strategy built into your organization? What happens if you want to retire or sell, or what happens if you can't work anymore? What is that? That all comes under this. Where's your business destined to go? So here we could say is that, in 15 years time I'm retiring, therefore it needs to be sold. So therefore I need to make it sellable within 10 years time. So then I've got 5 years to sell it and to sell my shares, or I'm going to build then legacy people within me so we can then transfer share ownership. And do that. I was speaking to someone the other day that they're selling the entire company to the workers as the owners then graduate out and retire. And it's an interesting thing. It's not something you just do. It's not like selling a car that you can just put in the newspaper and sell and move on there. It takes time. It takes time to build up the capital and to negotiate all those deals and stuff. So you've got to start planning that. If your idea is to take your company and list it on the stock exchange, it's a process that takes time. Or if you're looking for investors to buy out and you're going to do a big IPO and you're going to go with that, or you're going to raise money and keep the majority. There's so many different ways, and as you unpack these things there, it all determines on the journey that you take today. You don't want to go down a road and you find, I'm so far off course that you need to adjust and go the other way. So it's critical to know, where's my business destined to go? Where's that long term? And financially, footprints, market share, etc., and map that out there. So we have very clear directions of where we're going. And my business partner, myself, Michelle, we sit down and discuss these things long term. Where's it going to go? Where's our 5-year plan? What about the 10-year plan? And the other day, we actually cut something out that we were doing because it didn't fit into the long-term plan. And it's really interesting that because it keeps you focused. We spoke last week about an autopilot for an airplane, about how it keeps you focused and moving in the right direction. So the third purpose statement comes back to, what's your business doing? What do you do? And unpacking that is that the question says, what problem are you solving? And unless your company is solving a problem, then it's almost a non-contributor to the world economy. So it's always a question that we come back. Have you identified the problem that you're solving, and the purpose of the company, the purpose of the organization, the purpose of your products and services are to address that problem? And it doesn't have to be a very big problem, but it needs to be a stated problem. It could just be, happiness, or hungry people, or, thirsty people. It doesn't necessarily have to be as big as, ridding Africa of malaria. It's a matter of going around there and solving that purpose. So it's solving the transport issue, it's solving the convenience problem, solving a number of things. But writing those down there, again, it helps define the banks of the river that your company is going to flow down, or the yellow lines on the road that's going to keep you within the lanes and keep you focused. Because without that, you tend to wander. So I have this theory about plastic bag entrepreneurs, and let me share that with you. Is that, in Cape Town we have a lot of wind, and there's these plastic bags that flow around the greater Cape Town area, and you can almost trace a plastic bag from origin that might come from, say, Mitchell's Plain, and the next day it's blowing from the south, so the plastic bag ends up in Tableview and it's blowing out there. Then the next day a front comes and the plastic bag blows back down into the Cape Flats, into the deep south, and it's sitting in Muizenberg somewhere, and then the next day it blows back. And at the end of the week, this plastic bag has gone hither and thither. And so often you get to see these poor plastic bags hanging on the fence like this. They're all tattered and torn, and they've just been blown around from left and right and up and down, and the resting place is just hanging on some fence, all torn and tattered and worn out. And that's so much like so many business people I see. They're so busy and they're so running around, and their word for every day is hectic. Okay? And if you have this thing like, how's your day? Oh, it's hectic. You're being classified as a plastic bag person, that you're so busy, you're running around there. A strategic person, a person with purpose, knows where they go, and they're busy and blessed. And it's an interesting analogy to sit there and say, how's your day been? Oh, it's been busy, and I've been blessed because I'm solving problems, I'm moving forward, we're plowing on, and we're getting to where we need to go. Very different from, hectic. And we almost use this hectic and so busy as some form of badge of honor, as though people are supposed to respect us in some way because we're busy. And actually, it's just a sign of you being completely inadequate to be able to run your life properly. That's an indictment on probably 80% of the people that I speak to on a daily basis. So if that's you, well, welcome to life of a readjustment, because with a purpose statement, and life can be stressful, but you're focused, and it's not hectic, and it's not a plastic bag theory that you're running around all over the place. And by Friday you shouldn't be hanging on a fence all worn out and tattered. You should be tired and exhausted, but enthused, because that's where you're going. You're living a life of purpose, and your company has that purpose focus into it. So really interesting there. What problem are you solving in your business? What problem are you addressing in each of your products? What problems are you addressing as a company, as a person, as a family that you're involved in, that gives a sense of purpose with that? Number 4 is, who are you planning to reach? Now this comes into marketing a lot. We just discuss, well, you need company personas, and you need companies that, you need the customers defined, purpose-built customers personas that you have, and we've spoken at length about those and how we do those. But unpacking those creates an interesting sense, is that, do you have a clearly defined target that you're reaching there? Again, it aims at purpose. It laser beams your offering and your focus out to the world. So it's unpack that one, and you don't have to clearly define that here, but at least you have a general target area. It could be, say, we're focusing, women under 30 years old who live in the Greater Cape Town, or we're focusing, men who surf and they live in Durban, and we're focusing men and women who cycle who live in Johannesburg. And so you have a target area there, but what it does is it creates a sense of purpose, it creates a sense of focus with it. And added to the above, it gives you a sense of direction that you're doing there. And number 5 is, what resources do you need, or do you have? And it's an interesting one. If you have them. If you don't have them, then you need them. But ultimately, it's defining the resources that your company is going to use to target the people to solve the identified problem that they're experiencing. It's not a needs analysis at this stage, it's a purpose thing there. If you look at our purpose statement on our wall, it really focuses is that we're using the resources. We constantly are going to update our resources. It's in our value statement, is that we're not using the same old. We're not going to dig out a tool that came out of business school in the 80s. We're not going to take an old book there. We might use the foundation of that, but all our tools are reviewed and they're updated on a regular basis, which means part of our purpose statement also means that our staff are constantly being educated, and we're constantly upskilling, and we're constantly growing. I was speaking to someone the other day, just Monday, and they were saying is that a keynote speaker someone who people come and pay good money to, that are getting paid 30,000 Rand and upwards for an hour speech, is they worthy of that money because they know more about the subject than the people that are listening. And it's interesting there. What do you know more about than other people? And do you know more about your subject than your clients? Are you a thought leader? Are you a innovator? Are you a creator? Are you somebody who's leading the pack in that area that you're working with? And if not, well, then are you worthy of doing the job that you say that you want to do? So again, defining that purpose. So what resources do you need? It's not just equipment. It's not just printers and ink and a Land Rover and a trailer and a tractor and a drill. It's all about intellect. It's about IP. It's about wisdom. It's about intuition. And someone was saying that, you know, this whole EQ, IQ, SQ, PQ and stuff, and we've been playing around that, and there's a lot of focus on EQ at the moment. And they were saying that really what humans need now is a higher AQ. And I think we could do a whole series on that, is that what is your adaptability quotient? How good are you at adapting to an ever-changing world based on your resources and based on who you are? And that's an interesting question that we can unpack at another time. So the 5 questions are putting together, when you write, you're answering 5 answers, but together they form the purpose statement for your business, which builds the strategy out of which you then discern the vision for your company. What are the reasons for starting your business? Where is your business destined to go? What problems are you solving? Who are you planning to reach? And what resources do you need? A business with purpose is a business that has focus, and a business that has focus has a vision, and a vision will keep you alive and will keep you in the direction that you need to be to avoid becoming that not sought after plastic bag entrepreneurship. So if you've got any questions about any of these, then please drop me a line. We're going to open up for a couple of questions at the moment. Otherwise, we'll take them via email or on Facebook. I'll drop over there now and chat to you around that. Next week, we unpack the strategy a little bit more. We look at the people and the products and what strategies do you have to have in your business? What questions should you be asking around these things? And then the processes and profits that we're going to end the month with. So welcome to your future. It's about to happen. So my name is Bruce Wade, and you can get hold of me at bruce@emsolutions.co.za or drop by our website, emsolutions.co.za, and see what we're about. Chat with us. We've got a business boot camp this Thursday, so if you're in the Cape Town area and you want to come join like-minded entrepreneurs and thrash out some of the ideas, concepts, and we're going to take this very topic and unpack that in so many different ways with a number of worksheets and discuss what is the strategy behind a successful, sustainable business. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to chat to you a little bit more. So if you've got any questions, I'm going to be around here for a while, and you can ask those. But for the broadcast, I'm going to cut off and say thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week, same time, 12 o'clock for the Wednesday weekly webinar on strategy. Cheers for now.